Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
We are medical marijuana patients here in New Jersey. Where's a place where we can medicate around here without causing a problem and getting arrested, basically?
That's actually a very good question.
Yeah, we're medical marijuana patients, and before we go and just smoke where we think we can smoke, we got to come to you first and ask you where we can go and do this legally without getting arrested or causing a problem.
You can smoke marijuana any place that you can legally smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to pay attention to areas that are banned. Obviously, you can't smoke in public buildings.
Right.
Any location that says smoking prohibited.
Okay.
You can't operate a motor vehicle while you're smoking marijuana. Right. Also, just take note that if you are smoking in the street, an officer observes you, then you get into a motor vehicle, you are subject to 450 laws and rules. So, but that's the law in a nutshell as far as where you can and can't smoke.
Okay.
So,
my card is the same. It's just I have MS, he has surgery. My life is usually my wife driving.
Okay.
And I had concerns about this area because I bring my 3 kids to Menlo Park Mall with my wife, and at Christmas time they might be in the mall for 6 hours, but I can't stay in the mall for 6 hours, so I might be in the car alone. She'll have the keys and the kids in the mall, and I just like to know if that's okay that I'm medicated and smoke marijuana.
If you're legally allowed to smoke it, you just cannot be operating the motor vehicle.
I never use it.
and be smoking marijuana. Okay, that's the law. The reason I'm looking at these, I haven't seen them actually in person yet. This is the first one I've actually seen.
So can we medicate out here in the smoking area?
If you can, like I said, if in a location you can legally smoke, you can smoke marijuana.
Okay.
Okay.
Won't be 5 minutes really. I'll be.
I just smoked cannabis at the Metuchen police station. The police officer told us to come out here in the smoking area and smoke pot. And we come out here and look what we see. Be stoned.
That's so good.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The Illuminati has a good sense of humor. I appreciate your sense of humor. Very funny, guys. Very funny.
Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. I'm here in the Princeton Community TV studios today with Jennie Storms, a fellow registered nurse, and the mother of Jackson, who is a 15-year-old boy with Dravet syndrome. Dravet syndrome is a seizure disorder that does not respond to traditional anticonvulsant medications or other treatments. So, first of all, welcome, Jennie, to our studio.
Thank you for having me.
And please tell us a little bit about Jackson and what his story is.
Jackson is 15 years old now, and he has been a medical marijuana patient for almost 2 years now. November of this year will be our 2-year anniversary of beginning the cannabis journey. Jax began having seizures when he was 4 months old. They started off with intractable seizures. We had no clue. In the process, he's failed many different combinations. In the last 15 years, it's over 60 different combinations of pharmaceutical drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing worked. In 2008, they actually did a brain surgery, and they took out the right frontal lobe, and they cut the 2 hemispheres in half to try and stop the seizures from generalizing or even starting at all. He's had the VNS implanted, which is basically a pacemaker for the brain. It goes in right here, and it ties up into the nerve with a little clip. And literally
VNS is a vagus nerve stimulator. Mm-hmm.
And basically, for his programming, it goes on 24 hours a day. Every 30 seconds for 14 seconds, it sends out a jolt, which he's currently set at 3.5 millihertz. So it's constant. He's basically getting electric shock therapy 24 hours a day. If I swipe over it, I can actually set it off and it'll go for 60 seconds at a higher rate to try and interrupt the seizures. The problem is it's not working. So back again to the pharmaceuticals and the more we tried. And so at this point, he's failed so much and still having seizures. Got the diagnosis at age 10 of Dravet because of a homework assignment when I went to nursing school. And we started figuring out what drugs not to give him, what not to give him. And it was actually at a Dravet conference when I met Jason David that I actually found out about cannabis as a treatment and started looking into it. And that's when in November 2012, we started Jack on cannabis. And at that point, he was on multiple drugs, more than any child should be on. He was on steripental, a non-FDA approved drug. He was on valproic acid, Onfi, which is a benzodiazepine. He was on Klonopin, another benzodiazepine, phenobarb, a barbiturate, and he was also on the ketogenic diet as well. All of those drugs, and he was having 10 plus seizures every night, and that was on a good day, was 10 seizures.
Wait, he was taking those drugs at the same time?
Every day,
Oh,
2 to 3 times a day.
Oh, my.
Yes. So we started the cannabis, and we started weaning, and we had been trying for 3 years to wean him off the phenobarbital without success. And as soon as we introduced the cannabis, within 3 months, he was off the phenobarbital. It was absolutely amazing. The seizures got better. We would go through periods of time where Jack would have more seizures. And we actually found out that although he wasn't toxic on those drugs, he didn't need them anymore. So as we would peel the drugs off, his seizures would improve until we would hit the next plateau with another drug. And it's been a lot of learning, a lot of discovering what he needs as an individual to be able to care for him. So 2 years later, we are now with cannabis. He takes CBD and he takes THC as well. And he's on a very, very low dose of Banzel, 200 milligrams a day, twice a day.
Which is, what is
Banzel is an anti-epileptic drug, and therapeutic dosing is 10 milligrams per kilogram, which puts him at 2,000 milligrams a day. He's at 400 milligrams a day. And we also just added Keppra at 250 milligrams twice a day as well. And again, a therapeutic dose is 3,000 milligrams a day. And he's not had any seizures at all since, I want to say, September 12th. And it's because of cannabis. This is all because of cannabis. And it's not been an easy road. There's not been much guidance along this road, but it's something we've navigated and we figured out for him.
And Jax doesn't use the cannabis as smoking it. He uses it only in the oil form? Or?
Correct. Oil form or tincture form depends on what I make or what I have access to. Sometimes it's a glycerin-based tincture. Sometimes it's olive oil or grapeseed oil. But I pretty much am left to having to make it or obtain it myself.
So you make it yourself?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. And now, Jackson is a card-carrying medical marijuana participant in the medical marijuana program. How difficult was it for him to get a medical marijuana card here in New Jersey?
Gosh, that was very difficult. The difficult part in the very beginning was finding a doctor. His first medical marijuana doctor actually ended up being an OBGYN because it was the only one that would see children. So it was kind of an odd situation taking my son to go see an OBGYN. But he was willing to prescribe it. He believed in it, and he did help us at least with that part till we could get to the point where we can get more doctors to actually believe what was going on and how it was helping. He now has a neuro as his card-carrying medical marijuana doctor. But again, convincing and switching over is really difficult. Getting the pediatrician was very difficult. Jack is 15 now. So at the time he was 13, he outgrew a pediatrician a while ago. He doesn't have a pediatrician. We also live in a very rural area. There are no pediatricians where I live. So his primary doctor is a regular doctor, but had been seeing him for over 6 years at that point. But his opinion didn't matter and didn't count. So it was quite interesting. And then add in the whole psychiatrist part. I can't psychologically test my son for the brain surgery they did in 2008. But now because he's going to get cannabis, I have to take him to a psychiatrist. It makes absolutely no sense. Some of our children aren't going to be able to participate. They're untestable. So one problem after another. And to be honest with you, Jack's card was issued in February of 2013. That's when he actually received the card. He only had the recommendation from the one doctor. And from what I've been told, at that period of time, there were actually 5 children who slipped through the processing, and they didn't require the pediatrician or the psychiatrist. So Jack actually had his card prior to seeing the psych and getting the pediatric recommendation. So at that point, I then had to go back, and I had to go find those doctors, or they were threatening to pull after paying all the fees and all those doctors. They wanted to pull his card because we didn't comply with the rules that they forgot about.
So you did find a psychiatrist, and
I did.
he was evaluated by...
He did. He evaluated Jack, and he completely agrees with the treatment. And how can you not? He's failed over 60 different combinations of drug cocktails, which have hurt his stomach, his development. It's caused probably more damage than the seizure disorder itself. Also, getting an older diagnosis at age 10 also probably led to some of the damage as well. And that's where, with these younger children nowadays being diagnosed early with the genetics, they probably have a better opportunity, a better chance at a better life than my child does, just because they can get the right drugs at the right time. And that includes cannabis. We know cannabis works for Dravet. So children will have a better chance of having a better life.
Now, since Jackson is a minor, you had to get a card as a card caregiver as well. Now, describe that process, if you will.
That was a pain in the butt. I had to have my mugshot taken at the doctor's office, and that had to be submitted. I had to go through the same process as my son. I had to go through a criminal background check and pay for that, which was approximately $90. A lot of parents, a lot of caregivers are actually losing their paperwork in the process of getting this background check, which just adds to the drama that the parents have to go through. I was not one of those parents that they lost the fingerprints on, but it's just not fun. It's not a process that any parent should have to go through.
Right. I wonder if they would disqualify a parent, from taking care of their child if they have a criminal record.
According to the rules, they can. I could kill, rape, murder anybody I want, and I could still be a card holder. But if I do have a drug possession charge, they could refuse to let me be the card caregiver for my child. And I'm a single parent, so that is an issue. I'm the only one that can do it. The irony of the whole thing is that for the last 15 years, every single month, the state allows me, and the federal government as well, allows me to pick up as much benzodiazepines and barbiturates as I need, whether it's for rescue meds or maintenance meds. I can be trusted with that, which is far more addicting than the cannabis. But I have to get a background check for the cannabis, but you just freely hand me by prescription anything FDA approved.
That's welcome to the Alice in Wonderland world of drug policy in New Jersey.
Yes.
Now, about a year ago, a bill was rushed through the legislature, S-2842, and it was designed to ease access to minors by eliminating the 3-physician requirement, and it was also supposed to improve access by eliminating the arbitrarily imposed 3-strain limit on marijuana that was only available in the marijuana from the alternative treatment centers were only allowed to grow 3 strains by the regulations that were imposed by the Christie administration. And it also would allow edibles for children, but apparently not for adults. So how has this bill worked? A year later, a year after that bill passed, it was conditionally vetoed by the governor, who said that the psychiatrist and a pediatrician were still required, in addition to in your case, the neurologist who would be actually recommending the marijuana for minors. And the 3-strain limit was lifted so that varieties of marijuana that were lower in THC and higher in CBD, which has been shown to be one of the active ingredients in marijuana that controls seizures, could be grown in New Jersey, but there are still no edibles a year later for anybody in New Jersey.
Correct. The high CBD strains are also limited as well. Being able to get those high CBD strains into the dispensaries seems to be yet another roadblock and one of those mysterious things that it just kind of happens. I know that the dispensaries have it. They've confirmed that they are growing the high CBD. The state's dragging their feet on testing it. The state's dragging their feet on approving a method and communicating with the dispensaries as to what they aren't going to approve as a method. Somewhere between what the state's saying and what the dispensary's saying lies the truth. So who really knows? The honest answer at this point is, as a reality from a parent's perspective, there's nothing to give my child. And when I go to the Garden State Dispensary, which is my assigned dispensary, I basically have to sign a waiver. And the waiver says that I will not adulterate the plant material and that I must use it in the form in which I give it, which totally goes against the whole 2842. And that's part of the reason of my frustration why on April 3rd, when I asked the governor a question at the town hall meeting in Sayreville, why did you conditionally veto it? Why children only? Because with Jack being 14 years old, almost 15 at the time, what's going to happen to my son when he turns 18? It literally is a death sentence for my son. And he didn't really answer. I had to ask the question more than once. And he finally ended that question with, no one ever proved to me that adults needed it as well. And I, did ask him, what about my child when he gets to be 18? And he basically said that I have 4 years to figure it out, and at that point, he won't be our governor anymore, and that I can figure it out then. I need to figure it out before then. I need to figure this out for my son before he turns 18. The fact that the state of New Jersey is forcing parents to have to be criminals and violate the own state rules within our state. For example, Garden State Dispensary says, I can't adulterate the bud, but I can't let my son smoke because, one, he's got oxygen and he'll blow himself up, and two, he doesn't have the coordination to write his own name, yet you want him to be able to take a joint and smoke it and not hurt himself and know how to inhale. My son can barely eat on some days. So it's a really frustrating situation to not have the edibles and not be able to administer meds to my son that he needs. But to go back to all those pharmaceuticals and get all those FDA-approved drugs I want in many forms, whether it be rectal, GT, inhalation, by mouth, I can get any and all of that for him. So the fact that there is nothing for children 1 year later is very difficult. It's very difficult to live in this state.
And you actually had a meeting in August with some of the members of the Christie administration and also the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Health, Dr. Brito, and you expressed your concerns at this meeting.
Yes.
Has anything come of that in the last month?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing?
Absolutely nothing. It was a good show. Pretty much the governor made a promise at a town hall meeting on camera, said you can meet with my staff, and refused to meet with me. And the meetings happened, and they're not returning my emails, they're not returning my calls, they're not responding to anything, and I don't think they ever had any plans of doing it. They went through the motions, they did a task, it was on a checklist, boom, meet with mom, and it's done. And that's what they're going to do, and they're going to keep placating everybody in the public with this propaganda of we're working with families when they're really not. They're hearing us, but they're doing nothing with what they hear. And that's a shame because they're hurting more children, they're hurting more families, and they're losing resources by doing this.
So New Jersey's medicinal marijuana program is simply not working for you. Your child's health and very life is at risk because of this.
Yes.
And so you are joining the medical marijuana refugees.
Yes, we are becoming a refugee.
Who are fleeing from the state of New Jersey. You have plans to move to Colorado, Jennie?
Absolutely. We decided to move pretty quickly. We went to Colorado to meet with doctors because the doctors here in the state of New Jersey just don't understand cannabinoids, and it's not their fault. We have a program that refuses to educate, refuses to support, and help anyone in this state who's using the cannabis. One example, which was on the front page of the Bergen Record in May, was when Jack was kicked out of the hospital for using cannabis as a card holder. I called the Department of Health. What are the rules? Help the hospital. What are our guidelines? What should we do? And the answers were no call back. Not from O'Brien, not from the staff, not from the governor's office. Nobody was willing to help us with that situation or that position. Out in Colorado, we met with a doctor. We wanted to find out, what they know, what they don't know, how to navigate the world of pharmaceuticals and cannabinoids. And I met a very well-spoken, Harvard-trained doctor who gets it. And he's just flat out told me, what are you still doing in New Jersey? And I was a little defensive because this is our home and I shouldn't have to leave. But it became very evident as my son had a seizure there in front of the doctor that, yeah, we need to leave. And so I pretty much gave myself 40 days. And so on October 19th, we're leaving the state.
So a patient who is a legitimate card-carrying medical marijuana patient in the state of New Jersey cannot use his medicine when he goes into the hospital in New Jersey.
That is the position of Hackensack University Medical Center, yes.
And they say this because all medicine has to go through their pharmacy and medicine has to be distributed
All
by the nurse?
medicine has to go through the pharmacy, but the pharmacy can't touch the cannabis according to New Jersey rules and regulation because it has to stay in my possession because it's a Schedule I. But the other problem is they're afraid of losing their federal funding. So there's a war between the different levels. Even though the DOJ has issued the statement saying we don't care what you do as long as it's within the confines of that medical program, they still are stating that they're afraid of losing those federal funds.
Right.
However, it's the classification as a Medicaid patient for my son that got him into the program at a discounted rate. They know about it. The feds know my son's in this program. They don't care he's in it because they can see it's a medicine. The honest truth is since Jack is no longer on all those drugs I listed, the state of New Jersey and the Medicaid program is saving over $7,000 a month in pharmaceuticals that my son is no longer taking. So you want to balance the budget in New Jersey? Take these kids off these drugs they don't need to be on that are ineffective and honestly making our kids more disabled.
Yeah, it really could. Medical marijuana, if it were fully implemented, really could result in tremendous health care dollar savings, not only with pharmaceuticals, but with avoided surgeries, avoided hospitalizations.
Right, and another way to avoid the hospitalizations would definitely be to let the doctors know about this, let them become educated, because right now a lot of the hospitalizations that Jackson has suffered is because everybody is so afraid of the cannabis and the cannabis might be doing something. And so since everybody in New Jersey can only play with pharmaceuticals, they can't adjust the cannabis because they have no say over that, you're only adjusting half a kid, half a person. So how do you truly see the whole picture and care for that kid and keep them out of the hospital? So that's why Jack's been in the hospital so much lately, is because you can only do this, but you can't touch this over here. And I think that if the doctors were allowed to adjust the cannabis along with the pharmaceuticals and truly be educated and know how to do this, it would be a completely different story.
But there's very little education for physicians about cannabis, about even the entire endocannabinoid system, which gets me, Jenny. I mean, here is a system in our human body, like our respiratory system or our circulatory system, that explains why marijuana works in every organ of the human body. And yet there's no education about it at all being pursued by the physicians in the state, and certainly none by the Department of Health.
What were the statistics about the number of universities that actually educate physicians about?
Around 10%.
10%.
Around 10% of the medical schools in the United States even mention the endocannabinoid system, or have any knowledge of the endocannabinoid system. Not necessarily even have formal courses on the endocannabinoid system.
So it's left up to parents and patients, and most patients when they go into the hospital are too sick. They're not going to sit there and explain to a doctor, "Hey, I have an endocannabinoid system. Can you help me with that?" And that's where I feel fortunate enough to be educated enough to help Jack. And every doctor that comes in that room learns about the endocannabinoid system, and I send them home with homework. Whether they do it or not is a different story. But we do give them, something to think about and learn about. No, they have an endocannabinoid system.
Right. Nurses, actually, there is a organization now, the American Cannabis Nurses Association. Yes. Are you a member of that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so great. I'm one of the founding board members of the ACNA, and we take it. Our mission is to educate healthcare professionals about the endocannabinoid system and advocate for patients who need marijuana therapy. And bringing public awareness to this issue, you also have staged a series of demonstrations out in front of the State House on Thursdays, Thursday from 11 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock. And it's gotten quite a bit of attention from the media, and certainly the Governor Christie has walked past these demonstrations several times. So what are your plans for these demonstrations, Jenny?
Well, I'm obviously from Colorado, not going to be able to continue them forever. So my last one will be on October 9th. I will be at that last one, but they will continue. I encourage everyone to come out. They will halt for the winter because it's just going to be too darn cold to come out and educate and share the story. And that's what this is about. It's not a smoke down. It's not about smoking pot. It's not about what people typically think of a protest. This is about educating the people that are there. I can see people that have Jack's wristband that we gave out the first month and a half that we were out there. People still have his wristband on that are walking by. So they support it. They want it. A lot of people that come by, say, in secret, they're like, I support you, but I can't. And then they walk on by and keep going. So it's kind of interesting the responses that we're getting from everybody. So Jim Miller has offered to continue that. Again, the last weekend before Thanksgiving, or the last Thursday before Thanksgiving, will be the last time for this year, and then they'll resume again next April.
But you're also going to be a speaker at the big demonstration in front of the State House on October 18th, just before you leave for Colorado.
The day before I leave for Colorado, yes, I will be speaking there as well.
So thank you. So we certainly wish you a lot of luck at the demonstration. We wish you a lot of luck in Colorado. For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for...
Cada 10 segundos, yo hay todo mundo por marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody got arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.
Well, and I told Joe, I says, I'm not going to say you're right and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to say, good job, Jack.
Made it!
Made it!
Nice!
Made it!